welcome back to my channel, Thrive, Don't Survive. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Karleen Wagner. Karleen, please introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you for having me on. I'm so blessed and privileged to be here. My name is Karleen Wagner. I live in Colorado, Colorado native. I've been married for almost 30 years, have two grown boys. So we are now empty nesters, which is kind of a fun stage of life. And we have a little white dog that keeps us busy. He's very demanding. So, yeah, I will talk a little bit more about my story and everything, but I'm just grateful to be on here and to be able to share with your guests.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about your story, your background. How did you become, a consultant or a coach?
Yeah, so um, gosh, lots of background. I went to college for physical therapy, got a degree in exercise sports science, and went into serving in ministry. I was a martial arts instructor and I took care of the academy, ran the academy for about 15 years. And so I kind of looked at like my life and what I had done, and it was all about serving people and helping people to create better lives, whether it was through the physical therapy and helping people to recover so that they could have quality life, through serving in ministry, through serving with the martial arts to, help people create confidence and give them skills. And I had a kidney transplant, which we can talk a little bit more about 12 years ago.
Wow.
And after that, I mean, my life obviously kind of changed.
Mhm.
And I was looking more for something I can do on my own, something I could do that didn't require, going to an office or having to clock in and clock out. And that's where I really started like looking back at, okay, what have I done in the past? And what do I want to do going forward? And that's where I really got to the point that I can help people just create better lives still. And through my story, I realized that, you can be, I love the surviving to thriving because you can be stuck in that survival mode.
Sure.
Um, and kind of, help people to figure out what it takes to get out of survival mode so that they can thrive again. And so that's where I started kind of leading and going. And I have several businesses, but one of them is to help people just create better choices, better habits in their life, so that they're not just stuck in, whatever has happened to them, let's say.
It's so powerful. I'm like shocked by, yeah, when I read that you had that transplant, that must have been like really hard and really transformative. Also, I'm curious, what kind of martial arts?
So my instructor has been training in the martial arts since he was like 5. So our martial arts was a kind of a compilation, karate, Kembo, Muay Thai, Filipino martial arts, and then also we do jujitsu, Brazilian jujitsu.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. My
lots of lots of
boyfriend
stuff.
has one. Also,
Yeah, and very self-defense oriented, which as a woman, I think is important. Um, I mean, for everybody, but definitely for kids and for women, I think it's important to have those skills. And so I love, again, just empowering people with those kinds of skills and also the confidence to be able to, actually use them should they be needed. Something I still do. I'm not working in the martial arts anymore, but something I still do is women's self-defense classes, just because I think it's important for people to have those tools.
that's amazing. Yeah, my boyfriend has an academy. That's how we met because I was looking
Oh,
for self-defense
fun. And
tools,
what art do you practice in?
jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Isn't it fun? I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Very humbling. I'm a gym rat and I'm really good at the gym, and there I'm like not good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, and I'm
hard.
not a gym rat, so I love the martial arts.
Yes, yes, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's funny. And yeah, that's very important. I had a conversation the other day where this person told me that when you have trauma, like sexual trauma and like abuse trauma, then your biggest flaws later on are going to be safety, money, like issues with money, and relationships, like bad relationships. And I was like, oh my God, I had all those, but not anymore. So that's so
Yeah.
interesting that there's like a correlation with like trauma with all of that. So yeah, I agree that it's very important to have self-defense, safety, a good house, a safe house, a good relationship, etc. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I wanted to ask you more about if you wanted to talk about that, about your experience with the transplant and why that happened and how it affected you.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a shock. I was 40, was I 40? Yes, I was 40 years old when I found out that I was in kidney failure. I had been, and this is during the time that I was in martial arts, I was in the best shape of my life. And I went to my doctor for a few years, just my general practitioner, whatever, for a couple of years, just saying, I just, something's not right. I don't feel good. I don't have energy. I'm taking naps, like all this stuff. My neighbors were like, "You're such a hermit. What's going on?"
Mhm.
And for 2 years, he told me that as you get older, you just don't feel as well.
Wow, that's
And I'm like, I don't think, 38, 39 is that old.
yeah.
And the only test he ever did on me was when they prick your finger and do the iron test.
Yeah.
Well, I've been anemic my whole life, so that was like no new news, right?
Mhm.
And so I finally went to my OBGYN and I said, I think I've got thyroid issues because
Go.
the keyboard warrior looking up Google. And my dad had thyroid issues, so it kind of made sense. And so he's like, "Well, come on in. We'll take just a whole battery of tests and figure out what's going on." And through that, we found out that my thyroid was fine, but that I was at 22% kidney function. And out of the blue, I mean, never had kidney problems before, no family history of kidney problems. So we had to figure out what was going on. Why are you
Sure.
failing?
Yeah.
And so he sent me to another doctor, and I swear this woman was an angel. Because after I went through she diagnosed me, and then after I went through everything, I went back to find her, and the clinic she was at no longer existed, and I could not find her anywhere. Like I tried Googling her, like all this stuff, and she just disappeared. It was the weirdest thing. But she did a bunch of tests and found out that I had something called polycystic kidney disease,
Wow.
which technically is a genetic disease, but my overachiever self, I was a mutation. So there was no kidney disease in my family. I just was a mutation for this. So again, completely out of the blue, we're like, what's going on? But with polycystic kidneys, what happens is within your own kidneys DNA and the what I want to say, just it within your own kidneys, it creates cysts. And over time, these cysts just get so big that it overwhelms the nephrons in your kidneys stop working. So my kidneys, so a normal kidney is about the size of a fist. My kidneys are about the size of a like Nerf football.
Wow.
And so we knew what was wrong now, and immediately I was eligible to get on the transplant list. So went through the process to get on the transplant list. They told me about dialysis, that it could be possible that you'd have to be on dialysis. And during this process, I talked to one of the transplant nurses, I guess, and she said, for as active and as young as you are, you should probably look for a living donor.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay. And something to know about me is I, at the time, I'm learning better now. I was not the person to really ask for help or to accept her and, what can I do for, no, 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 what can I do for you? And so to have to kind of swallow that and ask somebody for a kidney was I mean, that in itself was a huge lesson and turning point for me.
Right.
But I knew that my boys were, I want to say they were 8 and 10 maybe at the time. I knew that I wanted to be here for them. I wanted to be as active as I could for them. I didn't want to be stuck on dialysis if I didn't have to. And so I put it out there and ended up with a living donor. She is also my angel.
Oh,
And she, yeah, to ask for somebody to literally go under the knife and give you a piece of them, it was interesting. But I was overwhelmed by the support I got. In under a year from my diagnosis, I had my new kidney, which is almost unheard of. Like it just happened so fast.
mhm,
And I recovered really well. And the kidney, it's been 12 years. The kidney is doing great. I haven't had any issues with it. The medications I take for immunosuppression are kind of cruddy. Sometimes they don't have the best side effects.
mhm.
But I mean, overall, I did not have to do dialysis, and the kidney's been great ever since. So, really, really blessed. My donor was a young woman that I had been friends with for several years, and that I had been, what do I want to say, kind of mentoring for a couple of years.
Okay.
And I will say that this experience changed her life just as much, if not more, than it changed mine.
Wow.
She was very, very kind of secluded, introverted type of person, and her community came and surrounded her with love and care, and it really opened her up. And she is living just a brilliant, thriving life right now. And so, why I have this, I don't know, but if that result would happen again, I would go through it again because I mean, her life has just been blessedly changed as well.
Ah, I love that. That is so powerful and so cute.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
that's wow. That's a shocking story, and that is so brave of you to go through that. I had the same pattern of not letting anyone help me and do everything by myself, and then I complained. Like I always do everything by myself. Nobody helps me, and it's like, yeah, but you're not asking for help, and that's also like being aware of like of where it comes from too, where if you were a child and you didn't have that. You didn't have the protection. You had to be independent. Uh,
Yeah.
then afterwards you become kind of like hyper independent and you don't let anyone help you. And then you're like almost people pleasing. It's everyone
Oh,
else,
yeah.
not you. And then that's also not great. And it's also kind of selfish because why do you people please is for people to actually like you better. It's for, it's for the vision of you more
Yeah.
than, you think it's because you're selfless and that you want to help. But in reality, that's not helping because you need to take
Yeah.
care of yourself first to be able to help. So yeah, that's very interesting that we have that pattern. Would you say that you also had similar upbringing where you needed to be independent?
I was very independent. My mom went back to work when my so there's a 6 and 7 year difference between me and my brother and sister, and she went back to work, I think when I was in middle school. And
Mhm.
so I became the person that was at home, with my brother and sister and, kind of
Being
taking care of stuff and everything. So yeah, and just even before that, yeah, I became a very independent person. And
Mhm.
um, the I will say I am a recovering people pleaser. I
Right.
mean, you had that right on.
Right.
Always trying to, please everybody, and everybody, I want everybody to like me. And somebody said to me one time, they're like, well, you don't like everybody. Why do you expect everybody to like you?
Yes.
And I was like, oh, wow. Like that was brilliant. And it's not that I'm not kind to everybody, but not everybody has to be your BFF, and that's okay.
Yes.
They have their people, I have my people, and it's fine. You don't have to be in with everybody. And that was a huge realization and relief for me
Yeah.
to have that. And going back to the giving, giving, giving and not receiving, another person had told me one time, and I think this is just a lovely illustration, is that giving and receiving is circular.
Hmm.
So in order for somebody to give, there has to be somebody receiving. And
Yes.
in order for somebody to receive, there has to be somebody willing to give. And if you don't allow somebody to give to you, you are kind of taking away their joy
Yes.
in wanting to serve you, offer you something.
Okay.
And so that was eye-opening to me too. And I thought, okay, I know when I want to do something for somebody and they're like, no, 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 no. It's like, oh, I really want to help you out here. And to realize that I was probably doing that to people
Mm-hmm.
um, was a big aha moment. It's like, oh, it is circular. You need both.
Yeah,
And you need to be both and to
exactly.
be open to receiving. I mean, I had to be very open to receiving a kidney.
Yeah, that's like
And
a big way, right?
oh yeah, yeah. And it's like that for a lot of things in our life. Like, am I open to receiving blessings? Am I open to receiving gifts? Am I open to receiving, new people in my life, whatever it is?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, another huge aha moment that I'm very grateful for.
That is so interesting. And so what were the things that you changed, for example, in your habits or in your food, nutrition, or anything like that after you went through the transplant?
So, after the transplant, I had to slow down my training. When they transplant a kidney, they put it in in the front, kind of in your pelvis area.
Okay.
They don't take the old kidneys out, they stay in
Oh, wow.
and they just give you a new one. So I have three kidneys, two truths and a lie. That's what I always use. Um, but so I had to slow down my training in martial arts because it's very physical training so that I wouldn't damage the kidney. Well, in slowing down my training, I started gaining weight.
Mm,
And what I realized was, even though I was physically looked amazing and was in the best shape of my life, my diet sucked. I
yeah.
mean, I was training so much that I was consuming like burning so many calories. I mean,
Mm,
I would have burgers, fries, and a Coke all the time.
wow.
And so when I started gaining weight, I was like, okay, we need to figure out this whole diet thing. And so a friend of mine was in a business that had a plan for, eating and finding out if you have any, what do I want to say, allergies or sensitivities like gluten and dairy and that kind of stuff. So I went
Yeah.
through the plan and I started learning more just about food and about using food as fuel and all the crappy food that's out there nowadays. I call them food-like products. Like Twinkies aren't food. There's no nutrition in there that your body recognizes as fuel,
Okay.
right? And so went down the rabbit hole of all the processed foods and food sourcing, where food comes from. Now we get a partial cow every year that's, or I'm sorry, grass fed and no hormones and all that kind of stuff. Same with chicken and other meats. And just started changing habits that way in how I was eating and going more towards a whole food diet,
Mhm.
less processed foods, and then looking for food sourcing. Um, and then also just went down the road of what does your kidney do? I mean, it filters your blood and it does a very good job at that. So does your liver. But if you overwhelm your body with so many toxins and chemicals and things, it can wear your organs out after time.
Yeah.
And I definitely wanted to keep this kidney as long as I could. So I started looking for companies for personal products and cleaning products and all those things that touch your skin
Mhm.
that were clean products. And so that brought me into a new business and then also kind of brought me into this space of creating new habits around things that you're already doing. And those new habits can be buying better products
Yeah.
and understanding products. And so um, that's kind of where the kidney process took me.
Mm.
Over COVID, you do jujitsu. It's, face to
Yeah.
face. And so over COVID, I kind of got out of the martial arts just because I am immunosuppressed and I didn't want to put myself in that place. I
Or
hope to get back into it. I'm slowly kind of getting back into some things.
okay.
But so I was thinking, okay, so if I'm not going to do martial arts, I'm not going to be in this realm anymore. What am I going to do? And that's when I really started pursuing other things, including, you know, creating different businesses around creating better habits and better health. And I mean, mental health, physical health, emotional health, all of those kinds of things. So that's kind of where the kidney transplant like pushed me into a different realm.
Mm,
And I'm so grateful for it. I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, you're grateful for your kidney transplant. Well, I mean, for the kidney disease, right? And then the
yeah.
kidney transplant, of course, I'm grateful for. But it really put me on a new path that I don't think I would have gone to had I not had this experience.
Mhm,
And I mean, I was perfectly happy in the martial arts and planned on just kind of staying there for a very long time.
mhm.
But, circumstances changed. And I don't know, I'm very happy to be where I am today.
Yeah, you made the best out of the worst, and that's amazing. But yeah, I can feel that. So I had the same thing where I used to, it was the opposite. I wasn't a working out person, and I used to be always inflamed, overweight, and all this. And then I started to go to the gym and eating healthier and all that stuff, but it didn't work. So I felt a little better, like emotionally, but not everything. Not it wasn't just I wasn't healthy like when I did tests and all that stuff. So then I did the same thing. I went and got tested for intolerances. So all the gluten, all the lactose, the sugar, all of that off. And I'm also insulin resistant. So
Ooh,
carbs are not great for me. A little bit is fine, but so it's hacking your body and knowing what is inflammatory for you, what's good for you, what makes you, and that can bring like autoimmune diseases. Like you can be on a worst diet ever, and you're gonna trigger all of those that could be genetic or not. But if you take care of all that phase and all those components, then you can actually overcome. I'm not insulin resistant anymore.
nice.
So you can revert and you're not doomed forever, but you have to like learn. And also in this country, it's like the comfort food ode, like that's the culture. So people just emotionally eat. And I used to do that too. So that's one of the things that we also work on my program. It's like you said, just use food as fuel, not as a reward, not as, okay, I'm an emotional blanket. I'm feeling bad. Somebody yelled at me, and I'm just gonna go and stuff my face with three McDonald's, meals, or I don't know, which is what I used to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that's very important. My boyfriend used to eat whatever. He didn't know anything about it, and he had so many issues. Of course, he looks amazing. He has abs and all this stuff, but he was like peeing blood, and like all these things, also sleeping all day. And then he started the same diet as I didn't even ask him, but he just started doing that. And now he's like a different person. And
Yeah.
there's so many things that you can overcome just with nutrition because your stomach is related, strictly related to your brain too. So emotionally and like everything is in your stomach. It's your second brain.
Oh yeah, I've been down the rabbit hole of gut health lately,
Yeah. Mhm.
and it's phenomenal. I mean, how much like your serotonin, which is your feel-good chemical, is created in your gut,
Exactly.
and just the gut-brain connection is amazing. And we don't learn these things.
No.
And until something happens and you have to dig into it, and that's what I want to be is I want to be that person that gives you that information. So at least you have the information. Whether you use it or not is up to you. But I feel like we're so uninformed. And I mean, right now with the economy the way it is, bad food is cheaper for you than good food.
Yeah.
And so people end up buying the cheap food
Mhm.
and in the process destroying their health. And so even when the economy gets better, now you're in this sick place and it's frustrating. It is frustrating to, and I was that person too. I looked amazing on the outside and now I have extra weight on me, but I'm a lot healthier now, like
Exactly.
blood work and everything than I was then when I looked at the part. And so that's another thing is you can't just look at somebody and assume what their health is like
That is true.
because I looked amazing at 40 and I did not have healthy habits.
You still look it.
So, yeah. And I don't know if you've ever looked into like your cleaning products and your personal care
Yes.
products because
hmm
that's another really toxic filled chemical field industry as well. And
Yes.
the US doesn't do a whole lot about
No, yeah, I
the
was gonna
ingredients
say,
and stuff. So that's another just kind of aspect of health besides just food is what
yeah,
you're putting on your body.
yeah, I feel like America is so big that they just do everything for mass production,
For
not
money.
necessarily thinking, okay, I want to kill you, but it does kind of do that, but 100%. So yes, I also have like clean products, and I recently went into another product too, or I guess a line of products where it's like makeup that comes and like beauty products, shampoo and
Oh, all of it.
skincare, all that that is like so in Europe you have over 3,000 ingredients that are banned. So
Hmm.
it's Turkish, and in here you have eight.
Yeah,
So it's all
exactly. There's a
vegan.
lot that are not recommended, but not
Uh-huh.
very many that are banned.
Yeah, no, and that's crazy. I recently discovered how big that is too, where, I usually get, so because I have candida and like the carbs are not great for me and stuff, I get like, it's like dandruff, right, over here when I'm
Oh,
stressed. And
okay.
I went to the doctor, the dermatologist, and they gave me steroid shampoo. Turns out I'm allergic to steroids. It gives me panic attacks.
Oh my gosh.
Even putting the shampoo, which I'm not drinking it, I'm not, not doing anything. I'm just putting it in my skin, like not even in my scalp. And I get anxious. I get like a panic or anxiety attacks. And then another time this year too, I had like an allergy in my face and they gave me steroids. And that's how I found out that I'm allergic to it. And like it
Uh,
gave me like panic attacks. So I was like, that is so insane that just by, putting something in your skin, it affects you so, so much. So
yeah.
yeah, it's very, very important. And it also kind of it's gonna sound like, we're a little crazy, a little extreme because, things are not natural, like water is chemical, it's H2O, and that's my dad. My dad is a scientist and everything is yeah, that's stupid. Everything is but no. So there are things that are not good for you, even if not everything is natural and things are chemical, but chemical, they come from the earth, like whole foods, like ingredients
Yeah.
that you're not processing them. That's way better, and it's already proven that is way
Yeah.
better for you, and it's not disruptive. Like most of these things are hormonal disruptors, so it's like it does affect you in many, many ways. So I think, there is a balance into like, okay, not being obsessive about it, but taking care of yourself.
Well, and the knowing,
And
like you know that carbs bother you. So I
yeah,
know that gluten and dairy bother me. So I have to make the choice. It's like, okay, am I willing to not feel as well tomorrow by having
yeah,
this today?
right.
Um, you talked about hormone disruptors. Soy is a huge hormone disruptor.
Yeah.
And when soy came out as a milk alternative, everybody's like, "Oh, soy, soy, soy." And now we're finding out that it's not good for you. It's not this miracle protein, this miracle substitute that we thought it was.
Hmm.
And you're talking about, things touching your skin. It only takes 26 seconds for anything that touches your skin to absorb into your bloodstream.
Oh, wow. I didn't.
26 seconds. And so anything like you said, your shampoo, that's why it works is because the steroids are getting into your system so that
Yeah.
it can fix what's going on. And so even like chemicals, like your cleaning products, I mean, unless you wear gloves, those chemicals are seeping into your skin, into your bloodstream.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't know.
Mm,
And that's an education process as well, is, really think about, I mean, just getting ready this morning, shampoo, conditioner, lotion, soap,
hmm.
mascara, eyeliner, lip gloss,
Yeah.
whatever. Like just this morning, the amount of things that touched my skin is
Mm.
phenomenal. If you really write that down, it's amazing how many things you come into contact with.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy and we don't even realize it. Like the mascara I wear now with this new products that I'm into, I can like take them off with water and soap.
Hmm.
Usually you get like
Same.
the black eyes and like everything it like goes like crazy. So yeah, I mean, there was another thing that I found because I used to be gluten free, but I wasn't grain free. And I didn't know that basically grains like corn, oats, all the grains like that, even rice, but rice has a very low percentage of this inflammatory protein that it's, and I think it didn't used to be like that. My dad is always like, yeah, but we always ate bread and nobody had issues. And it was like, yeah, but they changed the way they make the grain to make it like mass produced.
Yeah.
So now everything is and like I'm Venezuelan, so Venezuelans we eat arepas as breakfast. So I used to eat arepas as breakfast, but I was gluten free. So it turns out I wasn't gluten free because I was still eating all the grains, and that made me inflame. And once I took all those off of my diet, it was like, oh my goodness, I still eat rice sometimes, and it's fine. Like it doesn't affect because it has 5%, but like oats have like 80%, gluten
Wow.
80%, and corn 90%. Like it's crazy. And we don't know all these things, and nobody's
Yeah.
telling us all these things except for us. In our work.
Exactly. Well, and that's why we need to get it out there more,
Yeah, yeah,
because people don't realize just all of that. And I think I wonder if so I have clients that are gluten free, but they can go overseas and they can
yeah,
drink the beer, they can eat the bread. And so it's how we're processing it and how we're making the products, but it's also we have completely destroyed our land.
yeah.
Land uh you're supposed to rotate your fields in the what you grow on them so that
Mhm.
it can replenish the land. Well, we are growing so much stuff that the land is just devoid of vitamins and minerals and all the stuff that used to be in our produce. The tomato that our grandparents ate is way different than the tomato that we're eating today.
Yeah.
And then you talk about all the chemicals that are put onto it. That
Mhm.
definitely changes the nutrition, the structures of everything. And then you talk about GMO and how they're modifying these plants. And so no wonder we have so much uh, gluten intolerance and dairy intolerance and all that kind of stuff nowadays. It's because it's not the same that it used to be, just like you said.
Yeah.
It's so different and it's destroying us. I mean, my generation is the
Yeah.
first generation that has been predicted to not live as long as my parents.
I know. And there's like,
And
yeah, there's a crazy percentage of like obesity, and not to say that because you're bigger, you're not healthy. No, but people are not healthy. Like they have insulin resistance, they have diabetes, they have this is the country with more sick people in the world,
yeah,
which is insane.
yeah,
We should do better. I
yeah.
mean, yeah,
When all of that again, besides the chemicals and everything affects your brain, but if you're walking around overweight, that affects your emotions and your mental health. And if you can't do the things you want to do, I mean, so it goes beyond just body unhealthy. It seeps into all these other areas of our lives. And yeah, it's becoming an epidemic. It's not a
for
good
sure.
place.
Yeah. Even with what you were saying with the vegetables, my so I have holistic nutritionists,
Uh-huh.
and they're like, well, do 4 days a week where you just eat protein, and then the rest you can eat a little vegetables, but try to make them organic and all that. And I can see the difference when I eat any vegetables that are not organic or anything like that. I get bloated. When I eat oils, sunflower oils, or any vegetable oils, it's insane. And that's what everyone cooks with
Oh
everywhere.
yeah. Yeah.
Or the cornstarch in the corn syrup
Yeah.
in chocolate and all this stuff. It's like all of it is just poison. It's
Yeah.
at least for me. Some people are less sensitive. I'm very, very sensitive. So, I mean, I think it's bad for everyone, but different levels. So,
Yeah.
That's a big one in my program, and that I teach everyone. But
Yeah.
not everyone wants to hear it. Some people get very uncomfortable and they don't want to be uncomfortable and they want to keep their habits.
Oh
Even
yeah.
yes.
I've posted stuff on Facebook like about canola oil, and
Yeah.
people come out of the woodwork. Oh no, I use it all the time, blah blah blah. The latest one was about farmed fish versus fresh
Yeah.
caught, naturally caught fish.
Mhm.
And somebody, got on there from what do I say? I guess a view of like the system and money. And it's like, well, there wouldn't be enough fish for people if we didn't have farm fish and this and
Yeah.
that and the other. I'm like, okay, then you buy that. It just leaves more of the fresh caught for me,
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
people do get set in their ways, and they will argue with you about why what they're doing is fine.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It makes them uncomfortable. They really don't want to face that they need
Yeah.
to change. Yeah.
Well, and you know this, but it's not even about just taking everything away. It's like, well, use this instead of this, instead
Exactly.
of the vegetable oil, use avocado oil,
Yes.
coconut oil, instead of, this, do this.
Yeah. It's
And
replacing.
yeah, it's not necessarily taking away all the good stuff, but how can we make it better or make a better choice?
Yeah. That's what my boyfriend always tells his friends. He's always like, saying everyone, you have to do this. And then he's like, you can eat everything a lot, just not any like just whole foods, or you can make your own sweets with monk fruit, da, da, da. And I'm always like, wow, I created this. But it's true. You can make your own like cakes that are healthy and delicious. Like it's not
Yeah,
about taking away the pleasure of eating because it's supposed to be pleasurable and nice and nutritional. I don't
yeah.
know. So yeah, you can definitely make it work just by replacing things. That's a great point.
Well, and organic food and food that like it actually tastes better.
Yeah,
Like,
it
no
does.
wonder kids don't like fruits and vegetables because the fruits and vegetables we're feeding them are very low in actual flavor.
Yes.
And so when you eat those foods that are actually natural in the form they're supposed to be, they taste better. And I feel like they fill you up faster too, because you're actually getting the nutrients from it. You're not getting just these empty calories that aren't doing anything for you. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
same with our grass-fed beef. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
can go to a steak restaurant and, get a whole New York strip and eat the whole thing and not feel satisfied.
Yeah.
And with our beef that we have, my husband and I will split a New York strip and we'll both be completely satisfied because it actually is giving us nutrients.
Yeah.
And so people say, oh, it's so expensive to eat healthy. It's like, well, not really, because when you're actually getting the nutrients out of your food, you don't need to eat as much because
Mm-hmm.
you're being fulfilled and your body is like, yeah, I'm good.
Exactly.
So it's just
100%.
changing that mindset.
Yeah. Right now, there's a whole thing in the Congress where these people are advocating for changes in the food system because we have things like that they used with the Nazis or with China, and it's insane what they put in our food,
Oh
and it's
yeah.
insane that they haven't changed it yet. And like basically things such as the cereals that the kids eat, it's just poison. There's absolutely no nutrition in
Yeah.
any of that. And that for me is like, I don't have kids, but I want kids. And I'm gonna be an annoying mom. I'm gonna be like, they don't eat any of that. Like you can eat a cereal, but the good one.
Yeah.
There's good. It's very expensive, $15 a box, but it's only whole food ingredients. It's still a little processed, but not as bad
As
as
much. Yeah.
the other ones that are like sugar and corn.
Yeah.
They
Well,
just
and I've heard that sugar is just as, if not more, addictive as
okay.
cocaine.
I know. Yeah.
And that's what all these kid cereals are. So you
Um,
get the more expensive cereal, but then you serve it with eggs or fresh
mhm,
fruit that's good for you, And so again, it may be cost more per box, but if you're eating less of it, it
mhm.
ends up being price comparable.
Yes, yes, correct. Do you have any like non-negotiables in your lifestyle?
Um, I, I, th I think it's just what we've talked about that, when possible, I go for the whole food diet, and it's not always possible. So next week I'm going to Disney. I'm going to do my best. I have meal replacement shakes that I'm going to take with me that I can do a couple meals a day on that so I don't have to rely on park food.
Mm-hmm.
So coming up with solutions that are easy as well is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I have such a sweet tooth, it's horrible. And so, really looking at the processed sugars and going back to more of the more natural sugars, like you said, like monk fruit or um, coconut sugar, all that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, and then just the products I'm using. Like I have completely changed my household of the products we're using. So I don't bring products in that that are not good,
Yeah.
that are dangerous. So all of our cleaning products are clean. All of my personal care products are clean. And so those are big non-negotiables for me because again, your kidney filters all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so not overpowering my kidney with a lot of chemicals and stuff that it needs to filter.
Wow. And did any of your doctors ever tell you to do any of these things?
No, isn't that sad?
Okay.
No. So, my friend that I worked with when I was first looking into the better eating and stuff really opened my eyes and introduced me to all that kind of stuff. And then I just went on my own rabbit trail. Like I said, I'm the keyboard warrior going down Google, looking up stuff. And I think that's another big part of my message is you have to be your own advocate.
Yeah.
Like you have to, I mean, my doctor who told me that nothing was wrong for 2 years and I was in kidney failure, he missed kidney failure. And, you have to be the one that is doing the research for you because your doctors aren't, which just blows me away. I mean,
Yeah.
my kidney doctors, everybody they see is sick in one way. Either they're sick because they need a transplant or they're transplanted and they're immunosuppressed. So essentially, not 100% healthy because you're immunosuppressed.
Yeah.
And just when new things come out and I ask them about, okay, well, what's the research on this medication or this vaccine or whatever it is when it applies to transplant patients? And they're like, oh, we don't know. I don't know if there's been any research. And I'm like, why don't you know? This is like your business. This is
Exactly.
what you do.
Yeah.
And I actually finally found a doctor this year in the transplant clinic that I've been very open with, and he's been very receptive to it. I was like, I'm taking all these medications. Where did this protocol come from? Who was it tested on? Like, how do we know that I need all these medications
Yeah.
for this stuff? And he said, he's like, wow, he's like, when I was in college, he did a paper on treating the patient, not just the diagnosis. And I was like, yes, because we all have different comorbidities. We all have different metabolisms. Like
Hey,
all
exactly.
different and unique, and you're treating us all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And but you have to be vocal about that, and you have
Yeah.
to do your own research. And doctors aren't very happy sometimes because
Yeah.
I'm that patient that comes in with, well, this is what I read, and sometimes what you read isn't true, and I'm always open to other options or possibilities, but sometimes they haven't done their homework, and
I
it
know.
drives me nuts.
Yeah, so I feel like well, I've lived in France, I've lived in Venezuela, and I've lived here. And I feel like America is big on gaslighting, like medical gaslighting.
And
I
pharmaceuticals.
And for yeah, exactly. Everything is a pill. You have a thing, you get a pill. Everything is a pill. But basically I'm also that person that's gonna go there. Like I have my holistic nutritionist and it's the only thing that's worked for me. So I go to my endocrinologist and I'm like, all right, so what do you say about this, this, and that? This is what I'm doing. This is what worked. Da, da, da. He's like, nah, that's not true. That I'm like, and I feel like in Venezuela, at least they treat you and they care about you and they look for the root. It's not like here where they're only treating the symptoms. They
Yes.
don't care. They don't care about you. You're just a number that's going to come and it's going to pay and okay, give me a pill and bye. And
Yeah.
so you feel so alone in the in your issues here. So I'm like the worst patient. Not for everyone. Like OB-GYNs, I'm like, okay, do your thing. But for other ones that I'm like, listen, no, or first, you're not gonna give me a pill. Second, I need this and this test, and I need this and that, and and it's like I'm the nightmare, but I don't care because that's the way I'm gonna deal with my issues. If you're not gonna do it, then I'm gonna do it for you.
Yeah.
And I don't have the same path and knowledge that you have, but I want you to treat me like the Venezuelan doctors. Like,
Yeah.
care about me, care about the root, and don't just band-aid me with
Yes.
a solution that's gonna be the instant gratification. Right
Yeah.
now, yeah, you'll feel better right now, and then it's gonna come back to you, and we're not gonna
Or
know
something else is going to happen
something exact.
because we're not treating the root problem.
Exactly. And you're like the example of this. Like 2 years, you could have maybe fixed your thing 2 years before your problem. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Unfortunately, it was nothing that could be fixed, which I think was the blessing in it. Otherwise, I probably would have been very angry.
Okay, okay.
Um, but yeah, but he missed it for 2 years.
That's
Like,
that's great.
how do you miss that?
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
don't care, because you have these assumptions.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't say this to be mean, but I think, well, it's just fact that we're in a very patriarchal society, and women's health is still something that is fairly new
For sure.
because women have gotten involved and they're like, hey, we need to look at this, we need to look at this. And so, a lot of times, especially male doctors, but female doctors too aren't being taught a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
They just don't even know, like, to ask questions. Like, I'm going through menopause right now, and it's amazing how much there's still not known about
Hmm.
menopause.
Yes. And
And so I think sometimes it's like, no, there's nothing wrong. You're fine. You're fine. And it's like, no, I'm not. I know my body.
yeah.
And like I said, that advocacy part is huge. You have to
Yeah.
advocate for yourself.
I know, same. I used to take birth control for years and years. And first, I had no libido. Second, I wasn't myself. I was always on edge. I wasn't happy, like all these things. And I decided to stop. I'm like, I don't like this. It's not for, I can feel that when I take it, it's not good. I hate it. And so I stopped. And because there was no research, I didn't have options, but now there's a little more. And so now there is like this thing where I take my temperature and I see if I'm ovulating or not. And that's my birth control. So I don't have to take anything, but my body, I have like the aura ring and these things that take my health and my heart rate with my temperature and all that. And they kind of like can predict where I'm at in my cycle. And every time I go to the OB-GYN, that's the only thing that I'm gonna be a pain about in there. It's like take the pill, you're gonna get pregnant, take the pill, that doesn't work. And it's like, do you tell me that one more time, I'm gonna find another OB-GYN because like I don't want any gels, I don't want hormones, I don't want a IUD, I don't want anything. I'm good. It works. I've been doing it for years and I'm active. So yeah, I know my body and no, stop.
Well, and what you said about, it made you feel bad.
Yeah.
So people are on birth control and then they don't feel like themselves. So then they go on an antidepressant,
Hmm.
and then it's always like this compounding
Right.
things rather than, okay, the birth control is causing all these things. So what can we do instead of this? What's
Yeah,
another option? But
exactly.
it's like, no, stay on the birth control and then we'll just treat the depression. We'll treat the whatever.
Yeah.
And it's,
And workup was amazing because it made women have the chance to work and to, stop popping babies like crazy. It was great. But now we know a little more about it. Now we
Yeah.
have a little more data that it's not that great. And there's cancer related to it, and there's mood swings, and there's like all these things, and it's not for everyone. Some people actually need it. That's like this Ozempic craziness right now that people just inject themselves to be skinny. No, that's for people that have diabetes.
Diabetes.
Yeah, you can't just like give that to everyone. So it's almost like, okay, stop mass spreading things. And there are people that are gonna need it, and there are people that are not gonna need it. And just respect that, like stop pushing it.
And again, work with the individual.
Yeah, exactly. Which
Work
is
with the
like
individual person.
very coaching wise. Okay. My experience worked for me. For you, it's gonna be a completely different one, which you can guide yourself with what I did, but you're gonna have a complete different process. So yeah, I think that's new and people are kind of like getting there little by little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So, what would you say is like the biggest thing that you did that got you from surviving to thriving?
So I am a huge proponent of gratitude.
Love it.
And I people think, oh, yeah, gratitude, yeah, whatever. But if you really dig down into it, when you are grateful for the things in your life and when you express gratitude as a habit and do it daily, it does change your mindset and it changes how you view life.
Hmm.
And so, like I said, when I look back at stuff, I am grateful for my kidney problems
Yeah.
because I am in a space now that I don't know that I would have been in just had everything continued going as it was.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for the space I'm in now. I'm very grateful for the work I'm doing and the people that I'm, empowering. Um, and if you're really in a rough space or a dark space, I always talk about the practice of bookending your days in gratitude
Yeah.
before you even get out of bed in the morning. Just recite three things you're grateful for. And at night, when you close your eyes, recite three things you're grateful for.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be this magnanimous, I'm grateful for my kidney transplant. I mean, of course, that's huge. But it can be, I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody does. I'm grateful that I have food on the table. I'm grateful that I have my family. It doesn't have to be this major event to be grateful for.
Mhm.
But once you start becoming more grateful for the things in your life,
Yeah.
you begin seeing more things to be grateful for.
Yeah.
Because when you're in that dark place, you attract what you're thinking.
Hmm.
Your brain, that's the reticulating activating system, I think, that it shows you what you're thinking about. And so if you're thinking about dark things and how bad the world is, well, that's what your brain is going to show you, all the bad things in the world. But if you can flip that to looking for things to be grateful for, things that are good in the world, then your brain starts showing you all the good things too. And
Hmm.
it's just really a way to kind of reprogram just your perspective on the world. And in today's world, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And you can get really trapped and dug down into that. But instead of focusing on all the frustrating and bad stuff, it's like, well, okay, well, what is still good? I mean, like I said, it's 80 degrees and sunny here today.
Hmm.
It's not that way in Florida, in parts of Florida right now. It's rainy and windy and so it doesn't have to be this huge thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so for me, it was just that practice of gratitude that,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, this happened. What can I be grateful for out of that? Even the bad things.
Hmm.
I was giving a talk one time and a gal was like, well, you expect me to be grateful that my husband died? And it kind of caught me off guard because I hadn't received that feedback from somebody before. And it's like, well, no, you don't need to be grateful that your husband died.
Yeah.
But what has happened since then that you can be grateful for? He gave you two children. You can be grateful for the children that you have because of your husband. She got remarried. I was like, you can be grateful for the fact that you have a new relationship,
Hmm.
because your husband passed. And so it's like you have to kind of twist things around.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy being on these meds all the time. I wish I didn't have to, you know. But then again, like I said, I don't know that I would be here right now in this space if it hadn't been for the kidney transplant. So I'm kind of grateful for that I went through that.
Yeah, yeah. I have the same. I think for me that was like the biggest thing, the biggest shift, and I call it like shifting from the victim mindset to the protagonist mindset.
Yeah.
So the first time I did gratefulness, it was like the next day I was the happiest person ever. And it's actually like you said, scientific. Like it's when you're pregnant, you only see pregnant ladies. When you have
Yeah.
a red car, you only see red cars. So it's the
Yep.
same thing. So you actually train your mind to focus on the good stuff. So that doesn't mean that the bad stuff are not going to be there and they're not going to happen and then they're not real and that you don't
Right.
have to feel when you have something bad happen to you, but it's more like don't dwell on it. Find a solution. Find the good things that you can focus on so that you don't get stuck in that
Yes.
mindset of everything happens to me, everything's bad. I like every life sucks. Like I can't, you know. So yeah, that's very true. My dad, that's one of the things that my dad also always says that it's like, yeah, but then everything is my fault. Nothing can happen to me. And I'm like, no, that's not it. It's yes,
Yeah.
things happen. They're always gonna happen and life goes like this, but it's how you deal with it. And like if you
Yeah.
stay low there, like then how are you gonna ever become better? Like you grow from it. What can you learn from it? What can you do next time in a better way than this time and so on. So yeah, that's a very, very good one. That's one of my favorite ones
Well,
too.
and if you go around life, I mean, like you said, things are going to happen. That is just life. But
Yes.
if you go around being angry when something happens to you every time and thinking that things shouldn't happen to you, that's another kind of mindset that you need to
Yeah.
switch is that yes, things are going to happen. I mean, yeah, I mean, my dad died of cancer 5 years ago. You know, during COVID, we had money and business challenges. Like things
Mhm.
happen,
Yeah,
but it's the dwelling on it. Do you dwell or do you figure it out?
exactly.
And it doesn't, I have a girlfriend that, oh my gosh, like just so many things are happening, like all the time, all the time. And I sat down with my husband one time. I'm like, well, we have just as much going on. Like, I feel like she's like, oh my gosh, all this stuff happens to us. Like, but we have the same stuff,
Yeah,
but it's the way we deal with it. And then your victor or victim, do you believe that stuff happens to you or for you?
exactly.
Because if you can just see that, okay, this has happened, it wasn't anything I did. Well, sometimes it is a result of choices, but sometimes, I mean, like my kidney disease, I didn't do anything to
Yeah,
get that. So, you know, is it happening? It's happening to me, but how can I flip that so that it's happening for me?
exactly.
And being able to, yeah, just see things in a different perspective.
Mhm.
But I mean, it could be hard. I'm not saying it's easy.
Right,
It could be very hard, and it has to become a practice, and you have to be willing to make that change.
for sure. And
So,
it's hard to get out of the other mindset because you've been doing it for your whole life, but it's not
yeah,
impossible.
not impossible.
Get a
Not
person to
impossible.
help you and to guide you through it.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Um,
will say, I'm not a counselor. I'm not you know, psychiatrist or anything. If somebody needs that, then that's what they need to go to. But if somebody is ready to make those changes and is looking for, you know, somebody to guide them through that, that's where I come in. It's,
same.
you know, you're ready to do this. Okay, here's some things that we can do to do that.
Exactly. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, Karleen. This was such a lovely conversation. I love to have you. I'm gonna put all her handles in the comments. If you have any questions, we'll be answering. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.